Gail of Gaia and Free Range need your support. The foundation of any channel engaged in disclosure is the support of the listening audience and the intel it receives. You will not find this kind of information on the lamestream media. We abhor censorship, and sponsors always have an agenda. Your donations, no matter how small, are especially needed and appreciated to keep this going. Gail does not have a car. She gets around on her bicycle to get things done. So, her primary need right now is a car that runs and rolls. Nothing fancy, just basic transportation. Gail makes her living by doing temporary jobs, whatever jobs she can find that are close enough to get to on her bicycle. Temperatures in Phoenix right now are around 110 degrees Fahrenheit. One of her better paying temp jobs fell through just last week. These are hard times for the host of Free Range. Any donation, no matter how small, will be greatly appreciated and will keep Free Range rolling. Thank you. Welcome to Free Range. Scott Lemriel reveals the deliberately hidden truth and the way for others to recover it with knowing certainty by their own direct awakening experiences. To be effective, revealing hidden truth must also involve assisting others, with friends from very far out of town, to recover who they are and all they once knew before it was taken from them. Here is your host, Gail of Gaia, with her guest, Scott Lemriel.
Good afternoon. This is Free Range, and this is Gail of Gaia, and I have with me Scott Lemriel. How are you doing, Scott?
I'm doing good. Sounds much better.
Oh, yes, we were having some terrible issues with the sound.
And we're doing fine now. We'll be fine. We wanted to get the visual set up so that Gail's head was up more level with where she should be for as a host and get the sound a little better. We were having a few problems with the past shows, so we'll see if we've got that much better for the listening audience this time. I think we do.
Yes, thank you. I'm kind of a rookie at this. I'm learning as we go.
So we're just talking I don't even have my headphones on right now. When we start to go into the guided session more, I'll put my headphones on and mute your sound so we don't get any feedback with the recording when we're going on the journey itself. But for now, we're good.
Good. So much happening on the planet here lately.
I understood you had a few things taken from your bicycle when it was parked in front of a store.
Yes, that's pretty amazing that I was in there only a very short time, and I was parked right in front of the store, right by where the doors were to go in and out. And, they take their cart, and it's where you pick up your cart. And I had my bike chained to the railing of where the carts go in and out. And I came back out, and I didn't have a front light, I didn't have a back light, and I didn't have a mirror anymore.
So I understand you've arranged something with the store to be able to park your bike inside from now on because of what happened.
Yes, because that's kind of upsetting. But
probably got some people from out of town, not even from this country, who need parts for some reason for a bike. Could be kids stole it. You never know who or what did it. But yeah, from now on, just don't park it outside.
It was pretty audacious because it's right in a very visible area.
Nobody knows when they're working on the bike, taking things off if it's not their bike, if they didn't see you park it there in the first place. But it's a shame that kind of thing has to happen. But then again, this is planet Earth.
That's unfortunate.
It's not exactly a normal place, It's not by any means a normal planet. I know a lot of people, majority of people, know something's very wrong with the way their lives in this world is, the way it doesn't work properly, the way governments don't get along, and they grow up in a fear of nuclear bombs and all that, which is an illusion because they're not allowed to use them, even though it's classified. They won't tell people this. There are beings from other worlds much more advanced that won't tolerate this planet having nuclear war, and they've stopped it a number of times. We've been over this on a number of shows. I try to repeat it because, for one reason, people on Earth are living in fear.
Starlight's going, are you guys finally ready to go?
Okay, buddy. Got some headphones back. There we go. Got some headphones here hanging off my neck. We'll put those aside for now. Okay. So Starlight, you ready to go on a journey? I know we didn't have it ready because we had sound problems. You ready? Okay, he's ready to go. That was a very definite yes.
He talks to you, yeah.
Yes, Starlight, he goes on these journeys. But for him, because he's an Atma, he's like soul, what people call soul. He leaves his body and goes on journeys with me all the time. And he's not human, but he's very advanced as a being. So he's very telepathic, and he tunes in with these shows. We're about to start. He comes in, pushes the door open, gets over, meows at me. I put him up here. And then he'll usually lay down. When we're ready to go into the private, the more guided session that I take people on to get them out of their bodies, put their body in the trance state called sleep, then he'll lay down and go out before we even start. He'll join people and other beings on these journeys. Particularly, he has a lot of fun, and he's learning a lot from a creature called a Dren, which is introduced in the Emerald Doorway book that's published. And there's 30 illustrations in that book that show Etta and what he's like and describe him. Starlight will go out and learn from him, so it's all good. So one of the things that I always do before beginning a journey like this is to get people of their own free will to leave behind their fear of the future, fear of anything that happens in their life, their age, when they're going to die, what if they're going to know, will they be alive, nuclear war. Everybody knows governments are not telling them the truth about a lot of things. They call it classified, but it just means that those people are deceiving and being dishonest to the public, making up stories that are fabricated to cover up things they're doing. And when they do that, it puts out a negative field of energy because it's negative to lie and just be deceitful. And so it distorts their lives. And they're in terror and afraid and unhappy, like most people on Earth that they govern. Says whatever they're putting out this of a negative nature has to come back to them. And none of them want to do it anymore. So we're in the process of going toward a full disclosure to the people of this world because the classified government on this planet is being compelled to do so for their own good. So, it's not a problem of the masses rising up and having riots in the street because they're told extraterrestrials exist. That's nonsense. The masses have seen it in films for decades and decades. That's not the issue. The issue is the people in control of the classified arena are terrified of disclosing the truth, more than the people are. And the more they become aware of this, the more they're going to be willing to do it. But they're not going to be alone in doing it. They're being assisted from beings very advanced from other worlds behind the scenes. And when they're out of their bodies at night, when they put their bodies to sleep, they go out of their bodies too. And they're being helped to and guided to disclose in a way that will not be destructive to this planet. That's the best way I have of putting it for everyone. What matters most is that once this is stated, like in these little radio shows, people are going to go through the experience of discovering for themselves that it's true. We're going to have a disclosure on this planet without destructive nature involved. And then this planet can change tremendously because we can get the assistance openly from races that have conquered things this planet's trying to just get over the edge toward. How do you get governments to work together? How do you drop a classified system? How do you start telling the truth to people when you represent them? How do you cure diseases? How do you live longer? How do you get in and out of your body as a being and know it? These are the things that can be solved for people here all over the world at the right time. The people and the people that run this, the governments on this planet, both elected people and people in a more classified government behind them need to make some decisions, and they're making decisions about how to go about this, and they're being shown how to go about it so that you won't have a problem with it in disclosure. People on Earth are ready for it.
I think so.
The governments are not. It's not the people that's the problem anymore. It's the people that have been caught in this classified system for 60 years.
Do you think they're afraid of the repercussions? Is that what it is?
They're afraid for themselves that people will be really pissed off when they find out what they were lied to about and how abusive that was. But I think when it comes down to it, the mass of people on Earth are being worked with when they're out of their bodies at night too, to give them more of an understanding that the suppressive things that were done to people on Earth without their knowledge, that suppressed their former awareness, what they were aware of before they were born here, what they knew before they were incarnated here, that was suppressed when they were born here or by society as they're growing up. These are the kinds of things that people have to realize were done more severely to the leaders of this planet, particularly an elite, royal families, classified government that elects its own members, that runs this world despite who's in the White House every 4 years. That was done after World War II to maintain a classified system and run it and fund it, reverse engineer extraterrestrial technology, despite who was in the government, in the White House, who was elected, because they had to compete with countries that didn't have that problem. So,
do you think they'll just let things out a little bit at a time, or how do you think it'll happen?
it isn't, well, yeah, it is being done a little at a time, but it's not something that can take 50 years to happen.
I hope not.
Because the world would not have life on it the way it's headed right now if something did not change this world. The people that are running it now, because they make decisions based on being motivated by subconscious fear, which keeps them from knowing really what to do correctly, they make incorrect decisions every day. They make decisions for the people of this planet without telling them, and they're making those decisions based on fear. Fear of other countries, fear of terrorists, fear of anything, then they're making the wrong decisions. There's no other way it can be. Fear creates incorrect decisions about everything. Can't be otherwise. You can't make correct decisions based on fear. It's negative. And the negative nature of it keeps people from accessing their higher faculties as being, and to be able to make correct decisions about anything. So they just compound errors over and over again. Great deals of money and energy are expended every year just to keep the extraterrestrial issue classified, because the whole monetary systems and the way things are run on this planet right now are based on keeping that a secret. They're afraid that once they disclose that, then all those systems will go away. Well, yes and no. They'll go away, but they'll be transformed in a way from one negative use of energy into a constructive use of energy worldwide. It just has to be changed, and the people that are running those systems have to go through their own consciousness awakening in order to know how to do things properly for the whole planet, for the well-being of everyone. They're not doing that yet, but they're heading in that direction. And some things, if you have the eyes and ears to see it, you can see what it is that is going on for disclosure. It's timid and it's shy and it's awkward and it's stilted and it's just a little bit here and there, but it's moving in the right direction. They're testing the waters to see if they can do it and be safe. There ain't going to be any rioting in the streets from masses of people because somebody said, hey, you know what? Extraterrestrials are real. What? Of course.
Someone say, yeah, I've known that for a long time.
You know, yeah, we know that. So now what else is going on, you know? Once people that are in control begin to understand that their old way of looking at things, and the psychiatrists and psychologists they worked with at the end of World War II were all driven by terror. And they made many incorrect decisions about keeping the public in the dark. Some they justified so that people would rebuild a damaged world and be baby boomers and have babies and feel like their governments could protect them. After the war, if they started telling people that extraterrestrials, both of royal family, tyrant kinds, and great benevolent ones were coming here, then they felt people would not feel calm or comfortable enough to have babies and rebuild a damaged world. That was their thinking at the time.
Mhm.
So many countries decided to classify the issue. Spearheaded by the United States, I have to say.
Nah, I wonder what would have happened if it would have been different.
Well, I came to this world more than 60 years ago, not from Earth, in order to spearhead that change. And that was intercepted. That's a long story. People can find out more about it by reading the Say Ray's Agenda book. That book is on this planet, published for every single living being here, including classified people, the Queen of England. I don't care. It's for everyone, because it'll help people remember more about who they are and what they knew before they were born here. Planet Earth is not a normal human planet. It does not have normal human beings living on its surface. Anybody thinks they're normal who can't remember what they knew as a being before they were in this body that grew up on this earth, or how long they've been in creation and other lives and other worlds and other realities, is not operating from free will like they think they are.
Yeah, a lot of people will say, well, people have free will, and I'm going, no, they don't.
Well, if you can't remember what you are that is not a body and is not physical and has always been an eternal kind of nature of energy, it is energy, but it's not made of atoms and protons and electrons. It's made of an energy that existed before those things were created. Each being, each Atma that runs a human body is like that sphere above your head. Spherical, a white core, spectrum of colors, little teardrop shapes in each level that is a different higher faculty of being. Carry lifetimes and their experiences in the multidimensional universe in there. If it's suppressed and people are in terror of remembering how it got suppressed, then they don't want to know. They're afraid of it subconsciously. So, in order for a person to confront what took place to them that put them unconscious on this planet, what really happened, not religious belief, none of that, what really happened, then they have to confront in a safe way what happened to them, because it wasn't nice. It just becomes a memory then, instead of a subconscious terror. That subconscious terror, not wanting to know, drives people to imagine and create negative scenarios that continues to keep this planet and its people stuck in mud, not moving forward at all. The whole planet, all the governments and all the people, all the religions, all the politics is stuck.
Yeah, it is. It really is stuck.
You can't go forward into the higher worlds above the void. You can't go into other dimensions or make journeys to other planets when you're operating from fear, because that requires the higher use of faculties that do not operate with any negative emotion at all. You want to go from here to another planet out of your body and know it, you can't take a negative emotion with you. It'll ground you to the earth. You won't be able to do it. So the first thing I ever endeavor to do in my work is get people to voluntarily understand what the correct use of the imagination is and how to stop agreeing with putting negative imagination out towards their own future. Because if they think that an Armageddon on this earth will free them to go to heaven, they are sadly mistaken.
I have talked to people like that actually say, I wish this planet was
Irresponsible, it's childish, as if some God would have you come to some heaven with a bunch of people who think they've got to blow their world up to get out of here. That's destructive, it's negative. No one's going to have beings that immature come up there and play in heaven and bring all their fear with them and destroy that place. It's not going to happen. Doesn't matter what people believe, what religion they're in, if they think that way, they're just adding to the problem on this planet. And they're not getting out of anywhere. Because if they translate or their body dies, they're going to take the fear of the future with them. They're unknowing of what they are that isn't physical. They're going to take thinking they're a physical body with them, and they're going to be compelled from that fear to find another body to get into, reincarnate with no memory, all over again. They think that there's a sanctuary in being in a physical body on Earth. There isn't such a thing.
I've had people ask me, maybe you just answered this, why do I have to get out of my body, and how do I know I am out of my
Well, I always answer this. You're going to get out of your body whether you like it or not when that thing ceases to function. Anyway, right? They're going to say, yeah. Well, wouldn't you rather know where you're going to go and what you're going to do and not be afraid of it before your body dies? Well, yeah.
Now, that's a good answer. I'm going to have to remember that one, because sometimes I'm kind of baffled as to what to tell people.
It's common sense, spiritual sense, really. It's just common sense. It doesn't make sense that anybody says, I can't get out of my body because my minister told me the devil would get me or something like that. And I explained to them, you don't remember who you are as a soul. You think you have one, but you don't know what it is. You don't know how to move it around. You don't know what it's structured like. You basically think you're a body and have a soul somewhere you don't understand. Basically, you think the body's running or controlling the soul. Most people think that. And they've got that backwards. The being that they are is spherical, is running this body. The body's a genetic instrument, a tool, a type of machine that has been designed, the DNA, when it's running normally, to a being to run higher faculties of creation through it, through the brain, through the nervous system. But they're not supposed to be suffering from the illusion that they are in a body and stuck in it or trapped in it, or that they are a body. Because they're not. They never have been, and they never will be one of these. This is not what was made in the image of what they think the Supreme Being or the Source is. They got that all wrong. It is the spherical being, the soul, or the Atma, not made of nuclear energy, but it is energy, that runs the body. And it's that spherical form that's made in the image of the Source. Not these.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the beauty about this is that it takes away all the cultural divide, the racial divide, the financial divide, all the divisions that are created that keep people separate.
Well, that's all done from fear. And that's all done by tyrant programming and the people that found themselves incarnated on this planet. Over a period of history, an Earth and solar system history and a galactic history, they cannot remember because they're terrified to recall it. And it's an artificial program. It says, if you remember who killed you and who stuck you on Earth and who lied to you, then we'll kill you all over again. That's that kind of program. The fact is, the beings that did that to the people that are on Earth today are no longer operating on this planet. They have been extricated out of this solar system. There's no more little gray guys abducting people on this planet. People are still operating out of present time about that issue. That stopped 20 to 25 years ago. A little few reptilians that were here as consultants, that they came here underground, have been out of here. It's not what it was 20 years ago. Things have changed a great deal in the last 7 years out in the galaxy, in no uncertain terms, and that's affecting and heading this planet. Its past prophesied destructive Armageddon destiny has been permanently changed and altered for the first time. There's not going to be an Armageddon on this planet. It's not going to be a nuclear war, because the beings from other worlds aren't going to tolerate that, whether we like it or not. As an unconscious bunch of knuckleheads on Earth, running into making world decisions based on fear of everybody else over there, they're not going to allow that to be carried out into space on reverse engineered spacecraft to go play among the stars with races that will not tolerate that. Because we don't have the right to destroy ourselves on this planet in a nuclear holocaust that would harm countless billions of beings that aren't on Earth. And in parallel dimensions, people don't even remember exist yet. And
Yeah, they were perpetuating a fear about 9/11, in that the San Francisco bridge was going to, I don't know, disappear, break, float, be a big earthquake, what have you.
Hold on, what are you talking about? What's the San Francisco Bridge got to do with what we're talking
There was a fear going around about the San Francisco Bridge. Don't be on the San Francisco Bridge on 8/11 because it's going to be destroyed. In other words, they were going to try to create.
I don't have time to even acknowledge that. My work, no, I'm not even going to address such nonsense. That's been done by countless ways about extraterrestrials and earthquakes and polar flips, which have been permanently stopped on this planet, by the way. And all that's perpetuated because people make money one way or another off fear-mongering about the future, because they're ignorant, because they themselves are not experienced, and they're listening to gossip of other people and promoting it as truth. No, not true, none of it. And those predicted dates come and go and things don't happen.
Happens.
It's not. It's coming from people who think if we can destroy our world, they get free. This is not true. They will not be free if this world was destroyed. The irresponsible nature of their beings, being as immature as they are, they would be recycled into other bodies until they learn how to play among the stars and among other beings that are far more evolved, who would help us freely if we would do the right things first. One of those requirements is to have a world run by a single government that is truthful and honest and kind to its people, who are there as a service because they really want to do it. It's not for money or power. And we have to be beginning to explore space, which this world has done, but all divided in different countries that don't get along. It's done for greed or power. Corporations are going to go out and plant their flags and milk all the resources off those other worlds. How about no? How about no, they're not? Because space is already occupied by more advanced races. It's not going to happen. It's foolish.
How about no?
How about no? The thing of it is, in the classified arena, there are many good men and women and generals and classified that really thought by not telling people they're doing a service for people, but along the decades, they know there's something wrong with it at its core. It's unconstitutional. It never will be. It's simply done to justify expenditures on reverse engineering projects dealing with antiquated extraterrestrial technology, to bring us up to snuff, to get us ahead of the game, to defend the planet if there are bad ETs that come here. That's the thinking. There isn't any reverse engineering done on this planet could prevent this world from being wiped out or dominated by a tyrant spacefaring race. If they wanted to do it, the only thing that's prevented them, that kind of race, from doing that to this planet, who have tried many times to infiltrate this world, is beings from other worlds who police that from happening, not the people on Earth. They are not involved in preventing that. And they never have been. So that's like learning that you made agreements with the wrong crowd after World War II and making agreements with the right crowd and kind of getting the safety out there in the galaxy and getting some problems removed from bases underground and getting some help so they can head it in the right direction without destroying the world. An alien race that came here breaking an off-world treaty, that got in control of an elite on this planet and programmed them without their being aware of it, was done to get a certain group on this planet to annihilate 3/4 of the populace. So there'd be 500 million left that they could control easily. That was their thinking and planning. That was why World War II happened. It failed. It didn't get carried forward, but it could have been. It wasn't the people on this planet that prevented that. They had help. Only to the degree that there wasn't any direct intervention, but enough to keep that from occurring. And one of the big problems was they brought these Nazi scientists into both the Soviet Union and the United States and pardoned them to make them the head of their new space program and technology, because the Nazi engineers and scientists were being given illegal information from outside this planet by tyrant ETs who had that plan. And that failed. There were ships that have been shot down about to do something very nasty after World War II. but they weren't shot down by our military. No, we didn't have anything at the end of World War II to shoot down an anti-gravity saucer. The nonsense they made up about radar did it. No, come on, give me a break. Ship's going to come here from 500 million light years away and your radar is going to malfunction it? I don't think so. How about no?
Oh, no.
How about come on? No.
Common sense.
They get these craft and take them apart, and you classify it because you don't know whether you can really protect your people with your military from such forces. So you classify it. You try to develop weapons. You try to get ourselves up to speed to defend ourselves. That's the reason it's classified. The whole military-industrial complex came out of particularly World War II because things began to get what you call classified during the struggle with Japan and Nazi Germany, and then communism in Russia and China. They became classified because there was a lot of espionage going on, and spying and all that kind of thing. And you want your people to go to work and pay taxes and support the government, so you don't want them scared to death about ETs. And you just got this whole thing to deal with after World War II. So, you want to, Truman classified it, created the National Security Act, which is never ratified by a majority vote in the first place. Still being carried forward. Gail, what are you doing?
What
are you doing?
The phone, the phone ring.
Why was it even in the room?
Good question.
Yeah, because you have to kind of make sure those things are out of the way before you start a show. I've made that mistake a number of times too. Otherwise, sure as heck, someone's going to interrupt it.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want that when we go into the more of the guided session. I brought this up before in many shows, but it bears repeating in different ways because people on Earth don't really know yet when they hear truth. If they're sure about it, they know somewhere in their being when I'm speaking that I'm telling them the truth. But they're still wrestling with all this fear of the future and what they were taught growing up and all that stuff. You've been through it. So I try to get this on the table, and I spend the necessary time, to share telepathically with your listeners and you these different things of disclosed truth, because I'm disclosing it. I'm not telling people where a secret base is underground that the U.S. military works in, how to get inside it. I would never do that, because they just go get themselves shot. They're just foolish. They have no idea what they're dealing with. In the book, The Series Agenda, I do specify certain state locations for classified things, but never a direct location or how to get in there. Certain characters' names were altered in the books because it's designed to protect the innocent, and that's all the people on Earth, until after a disclosure is more formally, openly taking place on this planet. Part of the Savior's Agenda is constructed to show people how the destiny of the planet has changed, what the future is going to take shape like. It is not a psychic prediction. I don't work with psychic energies at all, period. I only work with the primordial first sound behind creation, which is not psychic. It's not made of the positive and negative streams that manifest the physical universe, positive and negative, and create form and stuff. I work with energies that are the being the Atma is made of, and it's the same as the source it comes from. And I work directly with that. So I don't make predictions as in a psychic prediction. I don't specify dates and times for these things to happen, because then you're doing psychic predicting. We all know that doesn't happen. People get lucky once in a while, and then the next time they're completely wrong, and then they have a reason why they justify it didn't happen, and they just go on with it because they're making money off books or whatever it is they're doing, trying to be of service. But the psychic energies work through the 4 lower dimensions, and they are unreliable. They move from one pole to another like a wave, an energy wave. in matter. Every action creates an equal and opposite reaction in space-time. So one time they're here when they're doing a psychic prediction, the next time they're down here in the negative area, and it's all wrong. And it moves out from under their feet. It's not a reliable way to determine what will be. There's only one thing that can determine what will happen in the future, and that is the combined creative imagination of the people living there. Because this omnipresent force is a co-creator with us that comes from the source itself, the prime creator. People call us supreme being. And it is a co-creator, and as Atmas, we're intended to learn how to co-create new ways of doing things for the benefit of all life and share it with that omnipresent energy. It will fulfill what we imagine in it, good or bad, up or down, left or right. And most people are putting out two streams of imagination at the same time. Good for themselves and afraid and Armageddon for the future. Now, Armageddon out of here, you know what I mean, kind of thing. And these are forces in the positive negative stream in the material worlds of time and space that are opposed to each other. And they neutralize each other and ground a person to this earth. They don't even know they're doing it because they don't remember who they are or what their purpose for being is, for existing.
That's a big one right there. People wonder, what is my purpose?
Well, there is only one purpose they have as a human being, if you want to call it. I'm not talking about the human body now. The human being, the first half of the word human is hue, hidden in plain sight right in front of their nose. And they don't know what to do with it. Human, hue, woman. What does that mean? Where does that come from? How do you use it? Well, it didn't get originated on this planet, and it goes back billions of years and up into higher dimensions. If you want to find where it comes from, you can go there and find it out for yourself. And that's the only way anybody on any planet will ever know anything, is by recovering their own direct ability to know with certainty, without doubt or fear or speculation or theory or debate or any of that nonsense that they're so caught up in doing now. It produces nothing, changes nothing. The society and governments do not improve. Nothing changes for the better doing that because it's negative. Produces negative results. Couldn't do anything else. Okay. When we go into the sound of the hue is not something that was created on this planet, ever. It was not created by any religious leader, past religious figure on any world in any place in the lower dimensions ever. It wasn't created by any governments. It wasn't created by science. It existed before the lower dimensions, like this physical universe and planet Earth, were ever made. And the beings, us, that run these bodies, were there at the beginning as part of that energy. People blab out all this stuff about how soul's eternal. They don't realize if that's true, then it existed before time and space did. In which case, we all are responsible for what we call the experiment of evil, good and evil. And if we don't like it, bitching about it will not change it a bit. We have to get our imagination taken out of agreeing to see things in a negative and positive way, both ways simultaneously, and put it back into seeing things one correct way, which is to imagine that which will be of uplifting, constructive benefit for all life, not just life on Earth. Life on all the worlds, on all the galaxies, in all the dimensions, parallel dimensions, and all of the higher dimensions of beyond time and space, including those in time and space. A human being, that sphere above your head, has the comprehensive capability to understand the source itself, the multidimensional nature of the universe and the life living in it, and its purpose for existing, which is, and only is, ultimately, to be a trustworthy, conscious co-creator with that source. Not a co-worshipper, not a slave, not a digit in a computer created after itself, a secondary creation. No. What makes up the energy of each single being is exactly the same energy as the source, the prime creator itself. Identical exactly across the board on a smaller scale. You have a teardrop, call it a being. It's made of a pure energy. And it comes out of and lives in an entire galactic ocean of beings that make up that energy. And that exists in a dimensional realm far above the void, known to many esoteric groups on this planet. It is actually there, but it isn't the heavens and the four lower dimensions people think they're going to. It's beyond that barrier, and it's into upper dimensions where no negative has ever existed, no negative emotion. The nature of each Atma in its real state, all negative emotions are not a natural part of it at all. It's learned how to be absorbed them into its being and to imagine through both of them, through usually terrorizing experiences it's had before it even came to this planet. Each individual needs to come to a conscious realization on their own, through assistance from those who can help them, who do not have subconscious minds at all, and fellow human beings in other worlds who don't have subconscious minds, who are now motivated to assist people on this backward planet, all the people and all the life here, to make this transition, this change, this unexpected turn in direction for the future destiny of this world. One of the first things that had to happen, as I'm the only one saying it on this planet, who knows from experience this is true, as far as I know. I hope there are many more in the days to come that know, because they can know. And that is that the polar shifts that happened on this planet like clockwork every 100,000 years, wiping out the surface completely, has been permanently stopped. There was what people call a golden age to an iron age and back to a golden age and iron age over and over again for this world. The biblical flood and all that stuff. These are things that happened again and again on this planet. But they're bigger than what happened on this planet. The reason that took place has to do with worlds outside of this earth. So that kind of a history has been what people have had to live with who are incarnated on this planet. Down deep, you can go through 100,000 years of developing a civilization like the last big one, Lemriel or Mu, that was destroyed overnight. And other people that could get off the planet that were benevolent left. Tyrants who bring their human slaves here under treaty in different small pockets of earth would just leave them. Maybe a few thousand people would survive worldwide in that change. Not even that many. And then the planet has to be reseeded from human beings volunteering to come here to start little colonies and bring some mammalian life back here and plant life and get it all going again. That's why this planet has so many diverse insect and fish and mammals and diverse human beings from other worlds with different skin colors and all that never originated here. Not one of them, not a single human being ever evolved on this planet to begin with. I say this, I usually preempt our guided journey with this so that people, and it's done telepathically, to help people stimulate, to help get this suppressed awareness they once had to the surface while they're living their life on this planet. They may not believe that this can happen and doubt that they could know such things. Well, the human brain and body cannot know such things. It only knows what it was grown up to train to see and experience from birth, the human brain. All that other stuff about other lives and higher dimensions is not in here. People are not going to find it hidden away in their brain somewhere. They need to realize that they are a being running a body, and that being, when it's awakened, has that information and can transfer it down into the human brain and consciousness. So when I guide people out of their body, the same way they put it in the trance state we call sleep every night like experts, without knowing they're doing it, we go out consciously. So when I'm guiding these things, people can see these other realities we're going to. Their mind, the brain, and their physical eyes are closed off. And yet they see this stuff like daydreaming, like imagination with your eyes closed. The brain cannot imagine seeing anything with your eyes closed. There's no camera and projection screen on which you can see a motion picture of things in the human brain. It's not designed to do that. It doesn't do that. The being running the body does that. Looks out into the multidimensional universe and imagines things. It's not being made up in the brain. They're actually seeing it somewhere. Fear distorts what they see. When they come back in the morning after sleeping all night and they bring back a wonderful dream, chances are they went to bed very happy and very serene. If you go to bed taking fear with you, your dreams will be distorted. You have nightmares. You bring back this fear of what it is you're doing when you're out of your body. There really isn't anything to be afraid of, because the Atma cannot be harmed by any negative being, misuse of technology on any level, or negative beings in or out of bodies, demons, gargoyles, ghouls, whatever. They can only operate in the lower dimensions. The Atma isn't from the lower dimension. What you and I are isn't from time and space. It cannot be destroyed. Bodies can be. The Atma cannot. There's never been a single being running a body that's ever been destroyed in the history of creation. Hundreds of billions of years old in physical universe alone. Not one, ever. I say this, we're all in this together. Keep your stick on the ice, we're all in this together. Which means, collectively, the beings that are in the higher heavens, if you want to call it that, above the void, who have gone through a consciousness change recently themselves, to get the lower dimensions to be mirrors of the upper worlds. That was the original idea for their creation. The astral plane, where all emotion comes from, all the physical universes and bodies, and the causal and the mental and etheric plane, and this big void that separates them, all the higher dimensions above that, and they are there. I go to them every day. They are most certainly there. And beings like you and I have the ability to do it. You don't grow up on planet Earth with any training or comprehension or confidence about this at all. Who's going to train a child on Earth this way? To get into the body and their parents say, yeah, it's good to get out of your body, son, daughter. Yeah, you can know stuff. Yeah, you meet friends from other worlds. A lot of the teaching from what people call masters or master teachers doesn't take place in the physical body around them. It takes place when you're both out of your bodies at night in a higher consciousness. When the limits of the physical upbringing on this planet are not involved. That's why we can bring about a transformation unexpectedly to this planet without destruction. So I want to make a point of that for people listening to this program we create together. If people want to go on a journey more consciously to discover what it's like to know what you're doing when you're out of your body at night, because all of you on Earth put your body to sleep as if it was the easiest thing in the world to do. You just lay down and go, I'm out. There I am. I'm gone. And you can see Starlight here is out. He's already up there waiting for us. He's very quick. He's not human, and he doesn't have the limitations of getting out of his body. Yes, he has an Atma running that cat body just like us. I'm not better or more important than Starlight as a being. I know who he is. He looks just like I do. He has the same form. He is learning how to get the ability to handle running a human DNA. Takes more training to do that. But he's perfectly capable of it. He's not in any hurry. I ask people to get seated, close their eyes, lay down if that's more comfortable for them. First thing, remember, all of you to go out of your body every night anyway. Some of you bring back what you call dreams. Some of them are, people have dreams of flying in a physical body over crowds of people, and they think it's wonderful. And then they go about their day and forget about it, and it might have happened 20 years ago, and they don't realize they were actually in a physical body on a higher dimension, flying. That's in the astral plane somewhere. That's where all emotion comes from, and all matter is moved through emotion there. The physical universe, all matter is moved through effort, pushing it around, picking it up, pushing buttons, that kind of thing. In the mental plane, above the physical worlds and above the causal and the astral, everything's moved through thought. And the etheric, it's moved through the actual actions of the Atma, or being, what they call the subconscious. But up there, if you're awake there, it's not subconscious at all. The Atma can cross the void into the upper worlds. No physical form on any level, any body made of space and time matter, none of those can cross that void. They're left on their various planes, and the Atma just simply puts them on automatic. We call the dream state, or the sleep state, the trance state we call sleep, and then they go out on journeys. Because they're not brought up on a planet where any of this is reinforced or taught, either religiously or politically, to people here. People grow up as adults and have no idea that they have any of this capability, so they don't utilize it. People in power also know that if they keep people ignorant in this way, they'll be kind of stuck here, keeping the status quo, etc. The problem with that is that beings in vast and countless numbers are moving through the universe now, and it moves in one way through the Milky Way galaxy, and it's moving through this Earth in one direction, and it's going to change things for the better for all life, because that decision was made. Not on Earth, not even in the physical universe. So imagine anything at all that you're afraid of, how old you are, whatever sickness you may have, your age, when you're going to die, if you live after death, what happens, where do you go, what's soul, what about nuclear war, North Korea, Iran, Russia, China, any of this stuff. Stuff you hear on the news and on the internet, put aside of your own free will, just stick it in little imaginary computer programs and call it negative. Fear, doubt, terror, theory, speculation, debate, stick it all aside. It's a complete and utter waste of time. All of that is negative, and it's misdirecting. So we're going to put it aside. This is what every being can do. I'm not talking about the brain or the physical body. You, the being, the one I'm talking to right now, can put that aside. It can remember and know how to do this. Because where we're going, you cannot take negative emotions with you. Imagine someone you love and respect, you're grateful they are in your life. When you first imagine it, it just makes you smile or warm inside. It could be a child's smile, a hummingbird, a waterfall, a blue sky, dancing with bare feet through the tulips, whatever does it for you. Because it will open a doorway in the pineal gland in the center of the human brain. And it has different faculties or little rods and cones in it that are tuned to other dimensional realities, higher frequencies. It is how the being runs the brain and the body through the pineal gland in the center of the brain. Rule number one. And all of you know how to do that and make the pineal gland secrete serotonin, makes melatonin, puts the body in the dream state. Actually, it puts the body on automatic. Keeps the lungs working and the heart working and breathing while you go out every single night. Sometimes you bring back a dream, what you call a dream. Sometimes you bring back an experience that seems more real than being on Earth. Sometimes you bring back nightmares or jumbled dreams. This all has to do with how you left the body at night when you went to sleep. If you carry fear and terror into the dream state, into leaving your body, you're naturally going to get back a jumbled mess in the morning. It's spiritual law. Every action creates an equal but opposite reaction, and this applies to thoughts and feelings, both of which are measurable on an oscilloscope right here on Earth. It's important to become the spherical being, the Atma, in awareness, because you can detach yourself from the atmosphere on planet Earth that is jam-packed with every horrible deed and murder and tyrants and royal families and history that is negative. All the thoughts and feelings of things done to anybody still bounce around the atmosphere right off the ionosphere, just like radio waves. You can send a radio wave around the curve of the planet because it bounces off the ionosphere. So people are basically living in an atmosphere full of everybody's imagined negativity, real or imagined, in the past done or just imagined. And when they're thinking and imagining negative, they open themselves to get all that in. And that is very misdirecting. It wastes their time on this planet. So we need to have a way to shut that off. When I go into the hue, the first half of the word human, and I start working these tones in different pitches, it's addressing the forms you have on different planes, bodies you're running without being aware of it. Like people have heard of the astral body, right? And they think about astral travel, and this transparent body looks like you, peels away from the body and goes on this journey. That's really not what happens. The astral form that looks like you is material body in a higher frequency of matter in the material universe. And you have a life there. And people start to experience living going back and forth between that form and this form, and they call it astral travel. Problem with astral travel is it's limited to the astral plane. Can't go any higher. The Atma that's running the body, which doesn't look like you, spherical, can go anywhere, even beyond time and space, without the limits of the speed of light, black holes, dark matter, parallel dimensions, interdimensional doorways, or anything like anti-gravity or any of it. The Atma is not limited to time and space. I will begin these tones. First, keep all your fears of the future aside for now. Then I'll begin these tones, and they will help you put all the forms you have on different levels into the trance state called sleep, so that you, the real you, the spherical being, can go as a whole being on this journey, have experience, and bring that awareness back to the physical consciousness and the brain on earth that doesn't have any of this in it growing up here. That is what brings about enlightenment to what you would call a physical form, living on a planet like Earth. It means that the Atma has to remember and become enlightened and recall who it is that isn't of physical matter, because that's part of enlightenment. What people call self-realization is knowing what the Atma, soul, what it looks like, the energy it is, how it's structured, really knowing it. God realization, this thing people call ascension or enlightenment, has to do with you knowing what your purpose is as a living being to co-create with the source itself. We're meant to come up with new ways to do things in our experience in incarnations and bring that back to the source from whence we came, to deliver those new insights so that that source can actually collectively change things. It doesn't have all the answers because some of that is in each of us. I'll begin these tones and then we'll go on a journey. When I say getting out of the body is easy, it's literal. Everyone does it every night. They're just not conscious that's what they're doing. But it doesn't mean they're not already experts at putting that body to sleep, because they are. What we're doing here is different. What we're doing is you're putting the body in the trance state called sleep. When I do the hues, it facilitates this process. It's something you recognize as a being long ago that you were forgotten. So you're putting the body into the trance state called sleep, like you do every night, except because I'm guiding the session and you hear my voice, it's a telepathic function. It works with a pure connection between the core of your being that is white and spherical and the source itself. What advanced extraterrestrial kind beings call prime creator. People on Earth may call it the supreme being, but it's not a supreme tyrant, a ruler that demands worship and gives nothing in return. No. Above the void, the source energy itself requires only that we respect it and each other and all life in the grand multidimensional creation. There are 144 parallel dimensions of slightly higher time rates of matter that exist in the physical universe. If you think of the Milky Way galaxy we live in with billions of stars, there's 144 levels of that. It's just big. And then it crosses a border into what people call the astral plane. And there are 144 parallel dimensions of different time rates of matter on different levels there. When you get up to the etheric plane, physical, astral, causal, mental, and the etheric, there's this big void which seems to be empty. Certain esoteric groups on Earth think that's the end and end all and as far as you can go, the source of all life. But this is not accurate. If you go deep enough and far enough into that void, you come to a shoreline of the first realm of the upper planes. And the matter there isn't matter as you understand it. It is pure positive energy. You can create cause there with no opposite or no effect. You can't step on anybody's toes there. We come from there and from planes much higher than that originally. as the spherical being. Do people wonder why planets are round and suns and moons? Because the beings that created them make it after their own image. Human beings, the human body, the twin-stranded DNA, is something that was experimented with billions of years ago and made in a higher genetic form with a certain kind of brain so the Atma could run higher awareness and faculties through it. So it would have tactile sensation on the plane where that body was comprised of the matter that makes up that plane at a certain time rate. An Atma is not a physical being. It isn't made of electrons and protons and nuclear material. It is made of an energy that supports and sustains that type of thing. It is behind, before it, encompassing it. The dark matter in space that people see in the Hubble telescope visions of outer space, to the Atma is not really dark at all. It appears that way to human eyes because human eyes can't see that high of frequency, so it appears black. But in reality, it's a white light with a golden essence, and it fills the void between planets and moons and suns and galaxies and dimensions. And we have a direct communication into that pure energy, which is not nuclear in nature, as the Atma. It's easy. We do it in daydreaming when we're bored with something. Look out a window, the physical eyes will look out at a parking lot, and then you'll imagine being on a ski trip or being on another planet or having a fantasy of some kind. While the eyes are seeing what's out the window, something else is seeing the fantasy, not the brain, not the eyes. If you close those eyes and still see that imagination, something other than the brain or the eyes is seeing it. And this is what I point out to people. They are the being seeing it, not the brain, not the body. Imagine being standing on a brown moss-covered plateau, the side of a tall snow-capped mountain with a beautiful blue-green waterfall pouring out of a cavern opening and dropping thousands of feet. And you're looking over the edge of this plateau at it. You can feel the mist of the waterfall hit your face. And you see that it ends at the bottom of the waterfall and creates a river that winds itself through blue-green forest trees, surrounding a beautiful clear dome covering a city. And it continues down the mountainside and out to the coast far away, where you can see an emerald green beach glowing. You seeing this as I described it is not the brain or the body seeing it. That's in the trance state called sleep. It's turned off, running on automatic, safe, and you have an energy connection to it through the hue, through the pure first sound behind creation, between you, the Atma, and the body through the pineal gland, and you're running it just fine. That link cannot be broken by any negative thing. Not a hydrogen bomb could break it. This is a connection between a non-physical being and the physical body in the trance state on Earth. Realize you do this every night, so you might as well be conscious with me now. Be above your body, just like you could imagine a beautiful waterfall or a hummingbird fluttering in front of your face, or your toes sinking the white sands of the beach you've been to in your lifetime. Now, you can do that, so be something that's looking down on your body from above near your ceiling, being kind toward it. And there's your body with the eyes closed in the trance state called sleep, sitting up or laying down. Then look up and find yourself hovering as a spherical energy, the Atma or soul, at 5,000 feet in the atmosphere above where you live. You can look all the way down and see right through the roof and see the sphere, another part of yourself, hovering above that body. Both of them are you. The Atma is not limited to being in one place at one time. It is wherever it places its attention. If your attention is inside the Atma 5,000 feet, you'll see everything around you in the atmosphere. If you put your attention near the body, it'll be in the sphere hovering above the body. Then find yourself looking up towards the heavens. And before you do, you see that there are beings such as myself that looks like that Atma, and Gail and other people surrounding us that you're going to meet as we journey up into space. Be in the atmosphere with no atmosphere. Be in the void of space, hovering above planet Earth at a distance. You can see the polar ice caps. It's just like looking at a Hubble telescope shot of Earth or a satellite shot of Earth. From up here, you don't see any cities or people or cars. You don't see any barriers between continents, no walls between countries. One planet, one atmosphere. And you can see the moon with all of its craters, no atmosphere, doesn't turn on its axis, moving in an orbit around the planet, always showing us the same face. And look around you, and you're going to see a friend of mine, Ambassador Turellian of the Seres race, who's an Atma like us, perhaps a little larger and brighter. And he's there to serve as a focal point around which we circle as Atmas like him, to keep us focused on gaining some constructive benefit from this journey. The universe is a big place, and we have to be very focused on what we're doing and where we're going to gain benefit, or people just get scattered and go off in every direction, which is not useful. When you look down, you can see a body that looks like you appear, standing in the void of space. It's luminous, it looks like you. It is a projection from you, the sphere, from the white core of your being, that looks like you, healthy at about 36, perfectly trim. And this is an energetic projection. It's not a physical body. It just looks like your body. And this is so each of us can see each other and understand who we're talking to. Until you get more advanced, then you won't need this. And you're looking at Turellian, and you see a body project in front of him. It's 18 feet tall, long golden blonde hair, big, vibrant blue eyes, a little larger than a human on Earth, slightly pointed ears. In a tunic, he looks like a Greek god standing there. And he's just given us a couple of thumbs up. And that's for everyone on this journey. This is just to give you the confidence that beings of a very advanced nature are protecting this arena and looking out for our interests while we begin to recover who we are. He is not from Earth. The Seres race did not evolve in the Milky Way galaxy. They didn't evolve in the Andromeda galaxy, our nearest neighbor. They were involved over 1 billion years ago and further back than that, developing body forms like human, the DNA of it, so that the Atma could run it and bring about higher faculties and capabilities through the brain and nervous system. On Earth, certain genomes on the DNA of humans have been shut down. They're like switches. So people have trouble remembering who they are when they're born here. They have trouble getting in and out of their body, or they doubt it. And they get lost in the material nature of looking in a mirror and saying, I'm a physical body, and that's not true. They never have been, and they never will be a physical body. These are devices that run at 98.7 degrees Fahrenheit. And there are many bipedal, upright standing beings, human and humanoid and others throughout the multiverse, that have Atmas running them in full awareness. They aren't suffering from the illusion that they're a body. They know they're not. And they can play with bodies or through them, pick up on the environment where that body evolved, and then work with energies to discover new ways to do things. This is the purpose of a human being, man or woman, is to develop new ways of doing things from our incarnations and experiences in the multiverse, to bring it back to the source one day, to share that. And that insight is shared with the source that tests it. And if it comes back from the lower dimensions as true, necessary, and kind, it is implemented. This is the purpose of a human being, to become a conscious, fully capable, trusted co-creator with the source. This is the reason for individual existence as the Atma or soul. We are in space, hovering around Turellian. You're going to see several other beings appear here. When you look at what you think is the black void of space as the Atma, you see it as a white field of energy with a golden essence, filling the black void in every direction between the Earth and the Moon and the Sun, other planets in our solar system, other stars, between galaxies and up through various dimensions, onward and upward. This energy exists. It is an energy, and it's a conscious living energy. People call it divine spirit without really understanding what it is. And we have the ability to communicate with it telepathically as the Atma and connect to the connection it has directly to the source of all life. And we get in direct contact with that while we're running bodies when you wake up. This is what this is all about. This rabbit hole goes a lot deeper than just revealing the truth of the existence of extraterrestrial life. It's about remembering who we are as co-creators with the source while we're living out our life on this backward planet. Why? To help countless billions of other beings who are free of having subconscious drives altogether, to assist us to change this world for the first time in galactic history in an unexpected new direction. Who are we to tell the source it cannot change its mind? Huh? This means that all past prophesied destructive Armageddon natures and predictions have been neutralized in favor of a new set destiny for this planet. And this kind of thing is going on out in the Milky Way galaxy in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of worlds on races and beings that travel the stars. They are willing to share what they know about longevity, getting out of bodies, end of disease, problems on Earth, blah, blah, blah. As long as we play ball properly with them, they will provide that at no charge. There's no money involved in their world systems. It's illegal. I'm not saying it's all bad and you can't give it up, you can't deal with on Earth, because if you try that now, you won't get served food in any restaurant. People are conditioned to think that money has value. It's made up. Paper money's just bark from a tree made from paper. There's no metal or gold behind any of it. That is the nature of life on Earth. But that is not the nature of where we are, out in space, hovering as luminous beings around Turellian. You're going to see a master teacher named Ramu appear in a maroon robe with sandals, short cropped black curly beard and hair, a crystal quartz staff in his hand 6 feet tall. It's glowing with a golden light. It has a cross on top with a elongated oval with a hole in it called the Ankh, which in Egyptian history meant eternal life. That symbol and what it does, and this device this particular person carries, did not get created on Earth or in its history. You're going to see another master teacher who's human, handsome, long black hair, emerald green eyes, slightly pointed ears, pale blue skin, 6 feet tall, in an elegant kind of gown. His name's Master Opellum. He's the leader of a world on the other side of our galaxy, 3 parallel dimensions up from the physical world Earth you're familiar with. Beings in advanced craft can travel the universe between not just physical worlds in the dimension we see through the Hubble telescope. They can travel between the 144 parallel dimensions of that and have trade and commerce and communion with beings on all those levels. Their ships, under normal circumstances, as physical craft, do not travel into the next major division, what we call the astral plane. To do that, you've got to go out of your body, or you got to be a race so advanced that you have the capability to move between the two. The Sayres is the only race I know of in ancient history that could do this. They were responsible for developing human and humanoid bipedal life, physical body forms, and DNA, 4-stranded, 8-stranded. Humans on Earth have 2. And they did this in order to bring them up to spacefaring capability, body forms that the Atmas could run higher awareness through. This was their job in ancient galactic history. They didn't create evil. They just created these different forms the Atmans could run, play among the stars, and then stepped back to see what they would do with it. We know the answer to that. Earth is an example of how they didn't exactly do the best things with it. This experiment we call evil, negative and positive, good versus bad. That's all evil, really. Anything that keeps a being from knowing what it is that is not physical can be considered evil, because it represses who we really are. What is underway now is the retiring of that as an experiment, replacing it with something that motivates all beings to only create that which is of an uplifting benefit to all life. The Atma is capable of being aware of all life in the grand multidimensional universe and creating new ways of doing things for all of it, not just people on Earth, one little planet. This is our true purpose as human beings. You can see my little cat, a little energetic form. It looks just like the cat that's sleeping on top of my chair. And he's an Atma hovering above this body form that looks like him. He's standing upright on his hind legs with his tail glowing. And he's standing next to a being who's also an Atma, who's running a silica-based body form that evolved. It's not carbon-based like humans. And he's standing on his hind legs with his hands up. He has dexterous hands and fingers like a human, and a tail sticking out behind him, glowing like crystal opal in bright sunlight. And the real him, the Atma, is hovering above this body form. That is a Dren, 3 feet tall, from the root of his tail to the tip of his nose. He has a jaw coming out, kind of like a salamander, but he's got pale green skin, big bulbous blue eyes. When his mouth is closed, it looks like he's amused about something. And this is also a master teacher, though he's not human. And he's comical. He's courageous to a fault. This being would die for you to protect you. He'd lose a physical body if you befriended him. He has his photographic memory, has vocal cords. He can talk with you, or he can talk with you telepathically. And he's not human. There are kind, wondrous races out there like this that can teach people on Earth many wondrous things. He is teaching Starlight how to fly and be free out of his body. So Starlight, as you can see here, is highly motivated to get up on the chair when any of these start. He tunes into it, leaves his body, and waits for us to catch up to him. When you look around us, you're going to see 500 other beings, men and women, appear in physical form, standing in the void of space with the actual them, the sphere, hovering behind that body form. Different dresses, different skin colors, different eyes, some violet, some green, some blue, some red, different hair, short, long, tall, short, hovering there. They've been invited from the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, which is situated or headquartered in the center of the Milky Way galaxy, huge organization of world systems, kind and benevolent. And they are going on a journey with us a bit beyond planet Earth in orbit around it. And they've been asked to do this because they will bring back to their respective world systems what we do here tonight, or daytime, depending on where you are on Earth. And they are in 3 concentric rows, circles of spherical beings surrounding us. When you look at the Earth and the moon, you're going to see it suddenly change before your vision. And we're going to see what it looks like In the third parallel dimension, 3 molecular time rates up from the physical world you're used to knowing about. Right in the same space, but a higher vibration. And that Earth has no polar ice caps. There's one big continent centered over the equator from the left to the right hemisphere. It goes upward about a third away below the North Pole and goes downward about a third of the way above the South Pole. And on the South Polar region, above the South Pole, about a third of the way up, you see a curved, crescent-shaped emerald green beach glowing even from space. And when you look at the moon here, it is full of a vibrant atmosphere. It has mountains and waterfalls and lakes and 5 domed cities on the surface. And it's turning on its axis. And on the backside, a big dome city centered in the mountains is coming into view. And it's moving around our planet. This Earth and this moon have been there for a very, very long period of time. And it's a prototype. They're going to use the example of what master teachers and people from the Alliance and people from other dimensions have built here. And they're going to change Earth and the moon. The moon is not destined to remain a pockmarked, crater-covered, atmospheric-less world. If I can say it that way. It has no atmosphere. Or very little. Because it doesn't turn on its axis, it can't hold atmosphere to its surface. When you look down at that green emerald beach, down on that Earth, you're going to see golden letters appear on that continent. From left to right, it says Lemriel or Mu, so you know what it is. Now, this is a world, an Earth, that never flipped its poles every 100,000 years, destroying all life on the surface, like it does in the Earth world where we're used to. This never happened here. Find yourself suddenly hovering as an Atma, as a spherical being, above this emerald green beach that's miles long, several miles in a crescent shape. And the tiny little grains that make up the sand are actually pure, polished emeralds. And they're glowing with about a foot of green light above the sand. And you are floating, all of you, along this crescent-shaped beach. When you look behind you, you can see Terrellian, the being hovering above the body, and you can see his feet standing out in the ocean up to his knees. And he's still giving us 2 thumbs up. He's a man of few words. He is a man of action. He's a man of direct experience. The body form you see, you could actually go up and touch. The Sayre's race immortalized their physical bodies over 1 billion years ago. It just means they got so advanced that they drew the molecular structure of the body up into their being and stored it in one of those teardrops in one of the layers. They can draw from the omnipresent hue that runs through the universe and mock up this body whenever they need it. When they're done carrying out a mission, they just withdraw it and go about their business as the Atma they really are. There's no illusion in the Sayres that they're physical bodies. So he's there to set an example for all of you. And you can see me, the physical form I am, about 36, perfectly healthy, the Atma hovering above me, just in the center of this emerald green beach, sinking my bare feet into the emerald green sands. And then you can see green energy move up my legs, up to the top of my head. I look up smiling, and that goes into the white core of who I really am as a spherical being, and out into the green layer that surrounds me at a distance. There are different layers of the Atma. White core becomes a yellow layer, then an orange layer, then a red layer, then a green layer, then a blue layer, then a lavender layer, then a violet layer. And there's a golden energy field around it. Some people call it a halo. But it's not a halo around a physical head. It's a halo around this physical being running a body. And all of you find that you have a physical form, about 36, an adult, perfectly healthy, looks like you, no physical problems at all. And there's the Atma all the way down this beach, this crescent-shaped beach, putting your feet into the emerald green sand. This green energy is about recall and memory. It runs up your legs through the top of your head, and you look up smiling, and you see it go into the white core of your being, hovering above that body form. This is an energetic form that looks like you, that you have created from the Atma through your proper use of your imagination, so that you can have tactile sensation in this earth, in this altered earth, in this other earth. You can see me rise up out of the sand. All of you do the same. Then Torellian rises up out of the ocean, and we form a circle of beings, 3 concentric circles around him. There are 500 other beings with us. And that whole thing moves like a galaxy across the huge jungle trees with giant prehistoric ferns, and there's a 3-foot wide brown moss-covered moist path leads straight back a mile to a clearing, and we're moving over the top of the jungle to see what is down in that clearing. In the distance, you can see a single, lone, snow-covered mountain and a waterfall cascading out a third of the way from the summit out of a cavern opening, pouring thousands of feet. It's luminous and blue-green. It's dropping behind a clear, huge dome covering a city that has 3 golden pyramids in it in triangular formation, glowing slightly on the side with a quartz cap in each one. This is a training facility where Galactic Alliance members come in ships or as an Atma, and master teachers from all over creation come to work together. And they can move in between this parallel dimension where this Earth is and the Earth you're familiar with and not be seen or detected. And they're helping set up something that has never happened before. You can see now below you, about a mile inland from the emerald green beach, there is a several 100-foot wide marble floor and tall 4-foot high lavender grass in a wide circle surrounding that marble platform. Now, instead of going where we've been before, there is a statue out of quartz of a woman, 10 feet tall, standing on a blue pedestal in the middle of this white marble floor with 2 sets of wings, angel wings. They look like angels, but she's not angelic. This is a representation of this woman who is from another world on the other side of our Milky Way galaxy. And this is a gift. This is an interdimensional portal of this quartz crystal statue. The green energy that she radiates from her hands that are out to the sides of her head, glowing green, you can see her charging that emerald green beach in the distance. That's a gift from another race for all of you. The statue is always here. This brown moss-covered path goes back straight another mile and winds up the mountainside through different levels of blue-green forest trees, and then it ends near that dome city. What we're going to do is go on a little journey beyond the lower physical worlds. And we're going to do that by circling around Torellian. You're going to see a vortex. It looks like a funnel, like a cyclone, but not violent, slowly moving clockwise, and it looks like blue-green water. It's glowing, and you can see a doorway open up, an interdimensional doorway above our heads in the blue atmosphere of this world. You know has no pollutants in the atmosphere, none in the water. No negative being or negative emotion exists in this particular planet Earth, 3 parallel dimensions up from what you're used to. And you can see this tunnel go straight up, as far as you can see, right through the atmosphere and beyond the planet, until you see a blue atmosphere way up at the other end. And we shoot up that collectively as a group, like planets circling a galaxy. and we're shot up far beyond the speed of any light. And you can look through the blue-green transparent walls of this energy field and see galaxies by the billions moving below you. We're bypassing the astral, causal, mental, and etheric planes, and then you're going to see a pale blue atmosphere. We're going to shoot out into it, and then suddenly the vortex below vanishes, and you are floating around Torelli and myself and these other master teachers and beings from the Galactic Alliance in a pale blue void that looks like there's nothing in it. As far as you can see, it just looks empty. It isn't, but you have to be trained to be able to see what life is here. This is the void that is known to certain esoteric groups on Earth, and they believe this is the final highest place you can go. This is not true. It takes enough light and consciousness to cross that barrier and enter the worlds that exist above it. You're going to get a sensation of moving at tremendous speed as an Atma into the distance of this void until you begin to see far off a speck of white light. And as you get closer, it widens into a white beach that's as straight as an arrow in each direction as far as you can see. And these jungle trees coming up out of this white sand that's glowing, that have jewel crested kind of fruit on them. They look like jewels, they're faceted. And there are these birds flying around above an ocean, crashing on a white sandy shore, that have long V-shaped split tails and rainbow-colored bodies with big bulbous blue eyes that wrap partly around their head. They look like a blue jay. And there are two sets of bird wings on their back. And they are singing the most beautiful sounds, male and female birds on multiple levels, circling in a couple of concentric circles above the beach over the jungle trees. It is the most beautiful sound. The genetic bodies of these birds here, if you look above them, you'll see an Atma hovering above these bodies. These Atmas are enjoying the experience of what it's like to be hovering above and utilizing a highly advanced genetic bird body that is telepathic, has vocal cords, has a photographic memory like Etta, and can fly around in the first realm of the higher worlds above the void. They are simply there to greet us. We're going to fly over the top of those jungle trees, and then we're going to come to a clearing. In the distance, you can see a crystalline-type palace extended along the base of a range of snow-capped mountains. You can see pasture lands with cattle with strange antlers and other birds and different animals congregating in herds. And momentarily, you're going to experience that there are Atmas hovering above these animal forms here, experiencing what it's like to be the consciousness of an animal and yet the consciousness of an Atma. They learn to respect all life in a direct experiential manner. These animals have vocal cords and you can talk with them. Very different from what's going on Earth. And then you see off to the left a clearing with a white marble floor and a botanical garden paradise created in concentric circles that goes out to a jungle. And in the middle of it is a fountain, white alabaster stone, maybe 20 feet wide with scalloped edges on a blue square pedestal with a white, kind of a circular blue circle of stone in the middle, and standing on is the statue of a man. He's about 6 feet tall, bare-chested, bronze-skinned, bald head, about 36, ageless looking, with a kind of a short white tunic from his waist to just above his bare feet. He's got 2 golden bracelets on his upper arms. And his hands are down to his sides with his palms open, and out of his hands is pouring a white light with a golden essence that's filling this bowl in a glistening even sheet. It looks like water that you could drink. And it's pouring over these scalloped edges in an even sheet and vanishing in the floor. When you look up above the head of this statue, you see a shaft of golden white light coming through the top of the head of the statue. It comes from planes far above here. This is the first realm of the upper worlds. The energy here is pure positive. There is no negative nature here. All of you come from here and from planes further upward, originally. This being's name is Sat Nam. It means true name, first vibration, first manifestation in any form between the uncreated pure energy of the source and the manifested worlds. And you can see a man standing off to the edge of the clearing with folded arms. And this is the actual being the statue represents. He's just here smiling to greet us. We're going to take a little ride up that white shaft above the statues, this fountain of this man above the head. And you're going to see Torelli and all of us move in a direct line straight up this beam of light. And up in the other end of this beam of light, you see a darker blue atmosphere, rich, vibrant. And in an instant, you find yourself hovering around Torelli as an Atma, high above a huge landmass, and that vortex below you vanishes. You're hovering in a high blue atmosphere looking down on the center of a huge landmass that is hundreds of miles across and has a white glowing beach in a complete circumference around it. There's 6 mountain peaks, snow-covered in a hexagon, and at the bottom between them is an island. And in the center of the island is a pedestal, like a blue lapis lazuli stone, and hovering above it is a cobalt blue sphere. And you can see that it is on an island surrounded by blue-green water at the base of these 6 mountains. You are way high above this, and as you look out towards the coast, towards the west, you'll see what looks to be like a transparent blue glass-like tower rising up out of another white marble floor that goes up 1,000 feet to a kind of a flattened spherical chamber that's transparent. That's an administration area. And that goes up to a point, very high. At the base of this blue glass transparent tower, this minaret, you can see white roadways extend from this circular clearing in every direction out towards the coast, like the spokes from a bicycle tire. And as they go towards the mountain base, they go through tunnels. They go right through the center of the mountain complex and come out roads straight as an arrow to end on the beach surrounding the entire landmass. This landmass is floating in a blue energy field. There are no moons, no planets, no suns, no stars. This is a training facility. This is where beings come to co-create new ways of doing things for the uplifting benefit of all life that have never existed before. We call it the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. I normally have not taken anybody this far, but rarely in any radio show. But if people are going to make any real progress on Earth, they need to know they have to create things here if they want things to change all the way down on Earth. Because in these higher realms, when the consciousness changes there to change things in the lower dimensions, things can change. The lower dimensions, including the physical galaxies, are in a set framework of time and space. They operate under automatic law. Every action creates an equal but opposite reaction. And this has ended up being a trap for the Atma or soul, who has forgotten who and what it is and what it really does and what its existence purpose is for. So we ground ourselves in this blue energy. You can feel it moving through the center of your being. When you breathe in, you can feel energy from this move through you. When you breathe out, you feel it move through the other way, and you have a direct telepathic communication into this energy. It is blue, like a sky blue sky. When you look at the ocean surrounding this landmass, it's a little darker, and it appears to be like water gently moving up to white sandy shores, but that is not water. When you look down the white roadway to the west, it goes all the way out to the white glowing beach. you'll see that there are white roadways every now and then turning off left and right. And there are clearings with domes or pyramids or different structures in these clearings, and these are training facilities. Master teachers and beings from all over creation teach here now in this relatively new place in the higher world that is designed to retire evil as an experiment in the lower dimensions and replace it with an energy that compels all beings to only create that which will be of an uplifting benefit to all life. This is how this place works, and this is its purpose for existing. Find yourself suddenly hovering as an Atma above this long, curved white beach, looking down this white roadway. You can see the blue gas tower at the other end, the six tall mountain peaks, the blue atmosphere above it, and you can feel a physical form appear and sink feet into this white sand. This white energy comes up your leg through the top of your head and enters the white core of your being. And that body is withdrawn into the core of your being. And Torellian and all of us move out away from this landmass until you see it recede to a pinpoint and vanish. We are in this blue energy field, which is part of the hue, the new ray of consciousness in the omnipresent first sound behind all creation. Up here, it's not even in the negative worlds. It's not in time and space. And you are drawing into you, it takes this form of blue light, which has to do with recalling what you are as an Atma. And you can feel it moving in and out of you like you're breathing. And it's lighting up certain teardrops out in the levels of your spherical being, turning them on maybe for the first time in millions of years. And then you see this landmass approaching at tremendous speed. We're actually moving toward it until we find ourselves hovering around Torellian, 3 concentric levels of hundreds of other beings, looking down on this 6 mountain peaks from high above them. And then you suddenly find yourself hovering around this cobalt blue sphere, down at the base of these 6 mountain peaks on an island, on a blue pedestal, looking at a cobalt blue sphere 4 feet across. Beautiful, lush, looks like green moss under your feet. And then there's blue-green glowing water that surrounds it, and you can see the 6 mountain peaks towering high above. And as you look into this cobalt blue sphere, you see a radiant blue star in the center of it. Inside, it's transparent. And you find yourself suddenly inside that blue star, looking out through the walls of this blue sphere. And you look down and see a shaft of blue-green light, a whirling vortex. And all the way down below, you can see the Earth with a vibrant live moon. And you find yourself hovering around Torellian in space, looking at this Earth in a parallel dimension, 3 parallel dimensions up from the world you know, with the emerald green beach, the big massive continent, the moon that has atmosphere, and then you see it change. And you're looking at the Earth you're familiar with, the polar ice caps, and the continents and oceans you know, and the moon that has all the craters on it, no atmosphere. And then you find yourself hovering in the atmosphere high above where you live. And you look down and see this spherical luminous being, you, hovering above your body on Earth. And you smile kindly down on that brain and that body. And you send the experience of this journey down into the brain cells, down to the electromagnetic field that surrounds that physical form. And you let this pure white energy with a golden essence flow through you from the upper worlds out into the Earth planet to benefit you and to benefit others. When you're ready, open your eyes. Thank you, Starlight. He just opened his eyes too, by the way. See? So you know I'm not fooling you. I don't put him up there and make him do that. He does this of his own free will. He's still going to go back and play with that. He doesn't want to come back yet.
I noticed that when he did that.
I'll take my headphones off. Let's see how we sound together without them. How is that for you, Gail? Lean back.
Okay, you sound fine to me.
Yeah, just don't lean too far forward. It'll get too boomy. So, yeah, and you look good in this one. You have better positioning in the frame. Okay. I want to leave that with your listeners because they can play this back when you get it on your YouTube channel and download it. And they can, I would recommend that they play this again. They'll hear my voice at a time when they won't be disturbed, but they can put headphones on or do whatever and spend an hour or two going through this journey because they'll discover a whole lot of detail and remember a lot more by doing that.
That was an awesome journey.
A long one. We got started at 3 and
awesome.
Takes a lot of time to do these.
Oh yeah, I loved it. That was a beautiful journey.
For the benefit of you and your listeners, that's why I do it. There's no money involved. So you have any questions, Gail? Anything you want to ask or say to your audience before we part company for now?
No, I just hope that they do take the time to listen to this journey again. They will be amazed at how much they pick up the second time around, because that's what I have.
Just so people know, if they want to find, this is the Sayre's Agenda book.
Yes, and I've read that book, and believe me, it's very hard to put down, and it does help with your recall.
Yeah, because this is a mile-long cylindrical blue-gray metal, flattened on top and bottom, what people call a cigar-shaped ship, with a bridge control on each end and 30-foot wide galactic scouts that go and move through the metallic hull by changing the molecular time rate. There's no open launch bay doors on this ship. This is stationed in the ice rings, which are made of ice, that surround the planet Saturn. And this is a Galactic Alliance vessel. It's stationed here permanently for now to help bring about a change that no one will see coming because it's unexpected. In the back of this book is a special technique section, one for the prologue and one for each of the chapters, which you'll find very helpful in working with the Hue to remember and recover more of who you are. This book is called The Emerald Doorway. And as you can see, where Gail gets that Atma from is on the front cover of this book. That's a master teacher named Ramu. He's holding up a golden quartz staff with the Ankh on top of it. There's Etta, silica-based, with his tail glowing like crystal opal in sunlight. And this master teacher is introducing to Calum and Melina with blue skin, hovering on anti-gravitic discs. There's his ship hovering in space. They came out of that. And he's opening a doorway to this place we went to today, Satnam's realm. And out comes the center, this being representing the Ancient One, or the source behind all life. And he's introducing this to them. They didn't know at the time they had one of these, looks just like it, hovering above all their heads. This is how enlightenment works. So this book takes place, this story, more than 100,000 years ago, just before the poles flipped on planet Earth, the one you're familiar with. And all that life was destroyed, and he's showing them how none of that life is dead, because they are taken up from the oceans when their bodies are destroyed and sent up through that doorway up into this fifth realm. And then they're incarnated later. But this is something that happened more than 100,000 years ago, involving extraterrestrials, that has an influence on this planet. There are 30 illustrations in here that you'll find of key characters and scenes, and it'll be very helpful with the two books. If you want to get them, my websites, where you can go and find the links to Barnes & Noble and Amazon and iTunes to get the ebook or paperback, are there. But I don't sell anything at the websites themselves. I just make it convenient for people to get them if they want to. The books are written as interdimensional doorways because they're visually representative of what you'll see when you go on the journey of exploring the chapters. It helps people remember, especially, this is going to help people remember what's changed out of the galaxy that makes it possible to retire evil as an experiment and change this planet. Without their help, we haven't got a ghost of a prayer in hell of changing this planet before we ruin it. This is something that happens out sometimes in other worlds when advanced races take a part in helping people get over that last hurdle into growing into more advanced life without destroying themselves. So I'll leave everybody with that. The websites will be on your YouTube videos so they can click on them.
Yeah, they're wonderful books. You will enjoy them immensely, and it paints a beautiful picture for our future. Rather than
And this is the first, thanks Gail, this is the first book of the Parallel Time Trilogy. There are 2 more written that go deeper into this subject about Earth. It's hidden history of our galaxy and other things. And those 2 will be published when these are more known amongst the populace of this planet. So I'll leave them with that, and we'll say good night and pleasant dreams and pleasant journeys. Know that we're not alone, and there are beings in vast numbers from other worlds that are willing to work with all of you when you're out of your body at night. If you give them permission to do so, they will co-create, helping you get free, back to true free will. Okay?
Thank you so much, Scott, and thank you, listening audience, and I do hope you take advantage of this wonderful opportunity. Good night.
Until next time, then, bye for now.
I'm a stranger on a lost island, somewhere in the universe. Stranger on a lost island, on this island Earth. I'm a stranger on a lost island, somewhere in the universe. Stranger on a lost island, on this island Earth. When I was just a little boy, I was different from my friends. Looking up in the stars at night, I'd feel homesick loneliness. I'd share a vision of a faraway planet where I once was given birth. Then reminisce of past civilizations no history reveals about Earth. Wide-eyed in fear, my friends stared at me, too confused to understand. They walked away in haste to spurn me like I was quicksand. Now I'm a stranger on a lost island, some